This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. We're so glad you could join us for today's show. In today's episode, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Glisan on some of those recent drought conditions in Iowa, as well as the possibility of rain coming in through El Nino. We also have a check of that ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, and we're here with Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. First off, Jacob, tell us a little bit about how those grain markets have been performing today.
Well, if you focus on the soybean market, you're a pretty proud day. We did have a disappointment at the end of the day. We sold off quite a bit from the highs in both corn, beans, and wheat. So trade got a little excited this morning. The weather's got everything excited. Every time we see a model run change, the market moves one direction or the other. So still a weather market, just some outside forces coming into the bean market just really got us a lift off here today. We traded it to the point where we were 40 cents higher at one point in the front month of the bean contract. So it was an exciting day. We just kind of forgot to finish that excitement at the end.
Right. We've seen that, the U.S. has been making some imports from other countries on soybeans, making imports from Brazil on soybeans. Now, is that from the higher prices that we're seeing in the States right now, or is this just a normal thing that we see every year, just a little bit of imports to the U.S.?
Well, we always have imports that we have to factor into the balance sheet for one reason is quality, some different types of soybeans, different types of products that we want in. We always it's always something that you have to look at. Those guys that are feeding chickens on the East Coast always have to look and see, hey, does it make sense for me to rail some beans all the way down through here, or does it make sense for me to get them off of a boat? So the import situation is going to be a little bit stronger when you see such high basis levels. And looking at beans, typically just from soybean meal crush plants that are on the coast, but also you have to look at the corn situation too to say, hey, what basis levels were just outstanding this year. So maybe some of that even got imported over there on the East Coast. So that's what we saw a little bit this year.
Now, we also know that we're in the weather market at this time of year, and across most of the Corn Belt, it's actually been pretty dry so far. May, we had one of the driest months on record. Now, we do have from last Thursday, we're officially in that El Nino designation, so hopefully getting some rains into the Corn Belt pretty soon. Once we get that, are we expecting, maybe a big reaction the other way from the grain markets, or will they play it maybe a little more quiet and see how things pan out?
If that rain comes and it comes in a substantial amount and it comes in the right areas, if we'll have a dramatic fall in this price, in my opinion. The demand situation is not strong. It's not as strong as where we're priced. And so right now this market is built on the fact that we haven't seen rain. There is some damage being done to the crop. I think the further this extends, then the more damage that will happen, and the more fear that we have that we're going to be 10 bushels lower, potentially than what the USDA has us projected right now. So there's a lot of what ifs. It is the middle of June. We typically see these type of moves, and again with weather in the month of June. But the thing that we have to remember is this thing can turn around really, really quickly whenever you see thunderstorms or see some type of big events that go across and cover the right areas. I mean, locally, I'm in one of the drier spots right here, and we did get 12 hours of rain, I tell everybody. Now, that 12 hours of rain only equated to about a tenth of an inch, so it wasn't as good as what we were hoping for. But that's something that we will continue to watch that play out. And right now there's some dry areas that are going to affect the yields, and Central Illinois is a big part of it because they're a big player.
And then how about the other side of the marketplace in the livestock complex? How have they been trading today?
The livestock markets have traded very technical anyway, but you look at the feeder cattle and the live cattle today, because I stepped out of the office for about 30 minutes. I come back in, and it was a totally different market than when I left. And that feeder cattle market went down, touched the 20-day moving average like it's done the last 2 or 3 days, and we came right back up. So, the cattle market, the live cattle were the same way. We've seen box beef. The story has been played out how bullish the fundamentals are in the live cattle scenario. But it's we saw a pretty good pullback here last week, and it's just justified. Like there's a point where this thing cannot continue to go higher. But right now, the funds were willing to come in here. Speculators were willing to come in here to buy these on these moving averages, and just another day that we saw a good, strong recovery. Where this thing ends, who knows? But until we start seeing some negativity fundamentally from your either your box beef price or some event to happen, that's one thing we haven't seen, a big major event that caused any big disruptions, like plant disruptions or weather events or something like that. So we've actually been pretty blessed, and this run keeps giving back to us here.
Then of course we've had a heck of a run in the lean hogs as well, because not even 2 weeks ago we were looking at low prices, and going into Pork Expo we were concerned about having some conversation there on those lower prices. Now we've seen rally up, and we're almost $20 higher in those lean hogs. Did we just kind of put in a bottom and we're on our way back up on that cycle for trading, or do we think this will be sustained?
Well, I think the one thing that you can look at, whether it's feeder cattle or whether it's hogs, like when you get thinly traded markets like those two, you tend to have V-shaped bottoms and even some spike highs. That's how it had. The market seemed to clean people out, right? So you had people that were done holding some long positions. They had to sell, whether it's margin situation, whatever. You see that clean out, and then boom, we're able to rally. There's some talk of herd situations. It really just felt like a market was tired of going down. We saw some interested buyers from some fund community. You can't continue to see hogs and cattle just continue to separate to no end. And I think that's a little bit of that, more of a speculative trade than any type of major change in the fundamentals right now.
All right, Jacob, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch with the folks at agmarket.net and learn more, how can they do that?
Just take a look at our website, agmarket.net. That's in our name, and you can take a 30-day free trial there of our intel. That's where we put out all of our information, our commentary, and you can look us up there on the Our Team page there and look up in each one of us, and our emails and phone numbers are there on the website.
Thanks for taking the time to visit with us as always, Jacob, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
That again was Jacob Burks of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how those numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. July corn is down 4 3/4 at 612 1/2. December new crop up 2 even at 551 1/4. July soybeans up 26 1/2 at 13.99 1/4. November new crop up 30 1/2 at 12.39 1/2. July soybean meal up 10 cents at 3.9750. Soybean oil up 1.45 at 55.43. Chicago wheat up 2 1/2 at 6.36 1/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 4 1/2 at 8.09 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 4 3/4 at 7.91 3/4. July oats up 11 even at 3.77 even. On the Merc, August live cattle up 72 at 173.92. August feeders up 140 at 240.45. July lean hogs down $1 at 90.60. June pork cutout up 35 at 88.55. Class 3 milk down a dime at 15.83. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Yesterday, I talked with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan about some of the recent weather conditions here in Iowa. Now, last Thursday, we officially got that El Nino designation, which should indicate more rain coming into the forecast. However, as we talk about in this discussion, that change isn't immediate. And while we were supposed to see some rains over the weekend, that just didn't come to fruition. But that's not because of any lacking from El Nino. Well, we're here again this week with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan for a check on the climate and weather patterns here in Iowa. First off, Justin, what's an update on the U.S. Drought Monitor for the state?
Hi, Riley. So yes, we've seen expansion of drought conditions across the state over the last reporting period. D0, that abnormally dry category, now covers about 46 or 56% of the state, and that's up about 3% from the previous week. 99% of the state is covered in D0 to D3. The major drought category right now is that D1 moderate drought category, and that's about 35% of the state. Only a little pocket in northeastern Iowa, Mitchell and Howard counties are not in some form of drought or dryness. So definitely with slightly warmer temperatures, but appreciably lack of rainfall, precipitation deficits on the order of 1 to 2 inches in northeastern Iowa, which is the driest part of the state over the last 7 days, have really exacerbated those longer term precipitation deficits that we've seen.
Now, we've also been talking about the potential for like rapid onset drought, especially in that eastern part of the state. Are we seeing that, get closer to that or further away from that at this point?
We are seeing that. In fact, we have a pocket of D1 and D2 that has been introduced over the last 2 weeks near Waterloo, and then expansion of D2 in southeastern Iowa. And again, this is a reflection of those longer term precipitation deficits. We have to remind ourselves that this drought has been going on for 153 weeks. It'll be 154 weeks this week, with at least D1 at some part of the state. So we broke the record, which was last 151 weeks, and this was the 2011 to 2013 drought. So definitely longer term drought expansion, and this goes hand in hand with that rapid onset drought. Not exceedingly warm temperatures, which have been great. We've had low dew points, though. Those dew point temperatures have been particularly low over the last 14 days, and that's where you start to see atmospheric demand increase. Less relative humidity in the atmosphere. The atmosphere wants to take any moisture that it can out of the surface, and hence the rapid onset drought that we've seen across portions of Iowa, but also the eastern Corn Belt.
Right, and with those atmospheric conditions, we also are officially in El Nino right now, right?
That is correct. So the official El Nino designation came out last Thursday. It's what we call El Nino advisory. So the sea surface temperature anomalies in the Pacific, the Eastern Pacific specifically, have been there for several weeks, if not more than a month, which is the first part that we need for El Nino to come to fruition. The second part is the atmosphere responding. The atmosphere senses those warmer ocean waters, and it acts to fire more thunderstorms off in the Eastern Pacific. So the atmosphere is actually coupled to the ocean, and we're seeing an increase in thunderstorm activity. Now, again, this will take several weeks for this to impact the larger scale circulation over the Northern Hemisphere and the jet stream and other impacts that will produce the weather across the United States. Now, with El Ninos, we do see a stronger signal in wintertime with those larger scale, synoptic scale weather patterns that we see. Not so much correlation with weather patterns in the summertime, but when we do look at analog years or years in which El Nino has been present or forming in early summer, those years show typically cooler temperatures and not as dry of behavior as we've seen in La Nina years. So definitely, I do think once we get past this week, which should be, again, below average precipitation wise, I do think we are starting to see a large scale shakeup in the configuration in the atmosphere that has just been stagnant over the last, basically June and late May, that will switch us into a more favorable growing season weather pattern.
Right, and important to note, like you said, that it does take a few weeks for that El Nino to really get to Iowa and take effect, because as soon as people heard about El Nino last week and then this weekend we didn't get as much rain as we were hoping or anticipating, there was a little bit of a shouting about that, but it's important to note that this past weekend was more of that rain where we've been talking about, that's isolated and just kind of spotty across the state, right?
Definitely. Again, that it's not a light switch. It's not a snap of the fingers. It does take a while for the atmosphere to re-equilibrate to the new conditions in which it is experiencing from the ocean. So yes, hold on tight. It does look like in the modeling that we are shifting away, at least from this drier, more stagnant pattern.
Now, we also talked last time about the jet stream that's usually across the Midwest. It's shifted south. Is there, opportunity for that to shift back up? Has it done that already? Or, just kind of what's the status there?
Yeah, that goes hand in hand with what we're seeing in the Pacific. Now we have mid-latitude flow where we live is west to east across the United States. We've seen several days with this stagnant high pressure system over Canada that has fed that wildfire smoke from 8.5 million acres in Canada further south into the Midwest, but also very pervasive wildfire smoke across the East Coast with air quality in New York City and Philadelphia, the worst that they've seen on record. Luckily, we haven't seen that type of smoke, but all of this goes hand in hand. Less precipitation, that wildfire smoke infiltration into the United States, all a part of where the jet stream has been situated further south of us. Now that we start to see the wheels are turning in the atmosphere and we're starting to see a new shift, or at least a trend towards a more active storm track. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to get above average rainfall right now. This goes again with the El Nino discussion, but we're moving in the direction that we need to get out of the persistent behavior that we've been in.
Right, and that's another important thing to note is that yes, a lot of our precipitation does come through that severe weather, but severe weather is what it is. It's unpredictable.
Absolutely. We've talked about this several times. We've been in a thunderstorm drought over the last 3 years in that La Nina phase. And with lack of severe weather, lack of thunderstorms, that's where we see drought expand. So we need more thunderstorms to get regular rainfalls. Now, again, highly variable during summertime, given that our precipitation is driven by thunderstorms. So you have stations over the last 7 days that have anywhere from 2 to 3 inches, and then pockets of 0 to basically a trace of a rainfall. So again, as we shift into a new circulation pattern, the hope out there, at least in the modeling and what the modeling is showing, is that these thunderstorms will become wider scale, and that we'll be able to get more timely rainfalls as we move through late June and into July, the warmest month for the state.
All right, Justin, and is there anything else weather or climate-wise in the state that our viewers and listeners should know about today?
Yeah, given the rapid onset drought that we're seeing and the conditions, again, not warm, very warm temperatures, but very low dew points, seeing that extraction of moisture out of the soils, send us pictures, send us on-the-ground observations. My email is justin.glisan@iowaagriculture.gov. My direct line is 515-281-8981. And we can use these observations and these narratives from our farmers and producers as we submit each round of recommendations to the U.S. Drought Monitor on the weekly basis. So having these pictures match up with precipitation deficits, but also what we're seeing in the modeling, only enhances the argument and the justification that we make to the Drought Monitor authors each week, so that we have a representative map for our farmers and stakeholders.
All right, Justin, lots of great information today. Thanks for taking the time to visit with us, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Thanks, Riley. Always great chatting with you.
That again was Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. As for right now, let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, again, like Dr. Glisan said, there is a small chance for some thunderstorms, particularly in that far eastern part of the state. But for this week, we're looking pretty dry, continuation of those drought conditions. Now, we don't know yet later on with El Nino bringing in rain, but for right now, we'll be dealing with those warmer temperatures and drier conditions. So let's see what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, there's a little bit of rain in the forecast. Otherwise, we're just looking at some general summer weather. Today we have mostly sunny skies with a chance for storms in the east, those highs ranging from the low to mid 80s. Tonight it'll be partly cloudy to mostly clear with a chance for storms persisting in the eastern part of the state still. Lows overnight ranging from the upper 50s to about 60. And tomorrow, mostly sunny skies across the state and warmer summer temps, those highs ranging from the mid to upper 80s. And taking a look at the affiliate weather map, mostly sunny skies across the state tomorrow. Really the only thing that will be varying is the temperatures. Cherokee, high of 88. Shenandoah, high of 87. Des Moines, high of 88 as well. Waterloo, high of 89. Albia, high around 87. And Clinton should see a high around 86. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. That's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find our video content as well as previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcasts on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.